Hi, welcome to the Popular Podcast. My name is Philip. First up, it's time for the mailbag. We have a letter from Rachel T. She writes, I have a few different streaming service subscriptions to accommodate all my favorite shows. When I add them all up, I'm spending kind of a lot on all these different services. Do you have any tips on the best way to consolidate and get the most bang for my cord-cutting buck? Yeah, Rachel, I do actually. I suggest that you make a spreadsheet with all the shows that you want to be watching, then add some columns for the streaming services that you have, and be sure to add a column for each level of service that the provider offers, and include pricing as well. On the sheet, make a mark in each corresponding cell for any of the services that these shows are on, and see where you're getting bleed over. Are there any services that you can cut because the shows that you watch there are also available somewhere else that you're subscribing? Are there any services you subscribe to where you're only watching one show? Could you live without that one show? When its season completes, will the full season roll on to one of the other services you have? Once you've exhausted every criteria you can think of to get as efficient as possible, delete the spreadsheet and start over. Do you get the same results the second time? If you don't remember what the results were the first time, pull your last spreadsheet out of the trash bin and check it. You get the idea. Good luck, Rachel. Now don't call me a sucker, but it's time for another trip to Lollipop Land, where the sugar is... Sorry, I should probably get this. Hello?
Yes, is Philip there?
This is he.
Hi, Philip, it's Philip.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Doing fine, how about yourself?
Pretty good.
Hey, so the reason I was calling was to see if you've been noticing the motion light getting tripped in the backyard lately.
Like pretty late at night?
Yeah, like 11 or even later.
Yeah, I've seen it go off occasionally.
Okay, good. Glad I'm not the only one. Have you happened to see what's triggering it?
Not really. On the times I've gotten up to try to peek through the blinds, I don't see anything out there.
So you don't check every time?
No, sometimes I'm almost asleep or at least comfortable in bed, so I don't bother to check it out. Whatever it is probably doesn't stick around very long, and it doesn't seem to be making any noise that I can hear.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. So do you think it's an animal?
Yeah, I think it's a cat or something.
That gray one?
Yeah, or the orange one.
Could it be a possum? They come out at night.
Yeah, we've seen one crawling on the fence before, but the fence is too far away from the sensor to trigger the light.
True. Okay, well, if you do ever get a glimpse, just give me a shout.
Yeah, definitely. Same for you too.
Will do. Well, I guess I'll see you later.
Alright, bye. Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Alright, sorry about that. Let's move on to a segment called Birdwatch. It's a great time of year to spot birds of all sorts. Whether you're in the city or the country, I bet you've been seeing your fair share too. I'd like to spotlight one specific species today, one that I've been seeing around the neighborhood a lot lately. This particular bird is a vivid shade of red with a fiery orange beak. It carries a shock of black across its face, and the feathers on its head come to a chic and proud crest. Did you guess which bird I'm describing? I hope so, because I don't for the life of me know which kind of bird it is. With its pompous little hop and the crimson regalia on top of its head, it almost makes me think of those fancy Catholic fellows who elect the Pope. And come to think of it, it looks a lot like the mascot of the St. Louis baseball team, whatever they're called. Well, I guess the name isn't really important. I'll just continue keeping an eye out for that unmistakable red flash moving against the green grass of the blue sky. That's it for this week's Birdwatch. Remember, watch out for birds. Dear Diary, I went to a music show on Monday night. I arrived when the opening act was performing. They were a strange band dressed all in loose-fitting linen, undulating on stage to hypnotic, electronically infused pseudo-Eastern sounding music. At one point, the lead singer began playing sitar sounds on a keyboard, while a thin woman blew saxophone in the corner, and another man, who had just put down his violin, began banging on a little Dumbek drum. After the opening act finished, the crowd temporarily thinned out, and I tried to shuffle my way forward and to the side a little bit. I ended up far up enough to see pretty well, but not too far up to be next to the really passionate fans, or in a position to be yelled at for blocking someone else's view. The band had helped set up their own stage, so there wasn't really any big reveal when it was time for them to go on. They just sort of walked back out on stage and began the show. They were energetic and interesting, and they really loved reverb on all their vocals and their instruments. The crowd was pretty lively, but not raucous enough to where I was getting bumped into or touched too many times. As I casually perused the crowd, I didn't see anyone else wearing earplugs, which surprised me a little, though at least one other person surely was. I couldn't be the only one. And that was... Excuse me, diary, I need to take care of something real quick. This week's household tip starts at the house but quickly spreads to the greater world. First, let me ask you a question. Do you like being able to hear? I presume you can because you're listening to this podcast. Now, how do you feel about loud noises? I don't particularly like them, so if I'm somewhere where I know it's going to be especially loud, I'll use earplugs. Not necessarily the kind that blocks out all sound, but the kind that dampens decibels and gives my ears some protection. Maybe I'm overly cautious, but then again, I don't know what the baseline of caution should actually be in most situations. So here's the tip. Try to always keep some earplugs handy. If you have a car, keep some in the car. If you have a bag you take everywhere, throw them in there. They don't take up much room. You don't always know when you'll need them, but it's nice to have them, like when operating heavy machinery or going to a concert. Oh, speaking of, sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yes, pretty easygoing and friendly crowd. I was politely offered drugs once during the first song, and I politely declined. As I took in the show, I occasionally got upset with myself for not wearing shoes with more cushioning. At the end of the show, I bought a t-shirt from the merch table and went home. It was a late night, especially for a Monday, but I don't regret it. Until next time, your friend, Philip. Okay, that'll do it for another pop filler. Thanks for listening, and remember, you'll be fine.